Good morning, sunshine. It's Free Motion Fridays with Kate Quinn. I have not been around, so I will be surprised to see who shows up. We have been missing about 2 weeks, but I'm going to go ahead and continue working on that intersection project. And if you're out there and you want to join me, I am so happy to share that with you. So we've talked a lot about different designs with this project, and the primary goal of the intersection project is talking about overlapping and underlapping designs. But one thing we haven't really talked about yet is the fact that when we build a design, it's important that we incorporate some elements of design that help to create unity, balance, a strong relationship between different pieces of the design. Otherwise, we just have a mishmash of all kinds of different designs. So what I've done today is, in the area that we're going to fill, I want to show you a couple of designs that we already have done, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to incorporate them into another section of the quilt and adapt them for that space and that size, which will give us repetition of design. It'll give us different scales of the same type of design, and it'll give us better fit for where the design can fit on this side, and those designs aren't already in this area of the quilt. So we'll have designs over here, and then we'll have some similar related designs on this other side. So those are important pieces about building a design. Whenever you're thinking about your quilt, a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, let's repeat that. So really quick, let me pull it up. We have this design right here, and this is a shallow S curve. So it kind of comes this way and then over the top, and it's actually doubled up to give a lot more 3D effect. If we just did this as a single, it wouldn't be quite as lofty, and it wouldn't have sort of that 3D element where it looks like there's something going on behind. So this will be one element that we're going to take and we're going to repeat in the new area. Another one is this ribbon candy right here. We're going to take this and we're going to put this into a longer stretched out arc. And then this one right here is a circle in a circle, and we're going to adapt this to fit the space, and we're going to take this idea of the circle and a circle and we're going to put that in another spot. And then the last one is we've got a couple of feathers. We've got obviously the really big feather over on this side, and then we have a little bitty feather kind of balanced in right here with the curl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a feather with the curls right into this wide space and fill this orange peel. And so each one of these little spaces is going to get one of those fills that we just talked about. So I think that the feathers need a little bit more room, so we're going to create that in this strong space right here. But before we start sewing, this space is really open. We don't want to just put one thing in here. So we have to define the spaces first. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with our foot right down here, and I'm going to use an arc ruler that I have, and we're going to create these spaces that we can fill. And then we'll come back essentially to this position and we'll fill this way. And then we'll travel out here to get to the new spaces, or whichever side we're on. Okay? Any questions before we get started? I'm glad to see you guys. We have 32 people here so far, which is terrific. Let me go ahead and get out the arc we're going to use. The circle right here on the inside is a 10-inch circle. It's pretty big. And to me, that's a little bit intimidating to think about what size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this 10-inch arc. Look at my happy face, right? He's smiling at you. And we're going to break this into more usable spaces, more accessible, rather than this big giant space, which is a little intimidating. Always, if you feel like your quilt block space is a little too big, sometimes just putting some lines in to split it can start you thinking about how you're going to orient designs. So that's always a good idea if you are struggling with a space that's too large. Just break it up a little bit, and those spaces right there all of a sudden can just inspire your brain. So the way that we're going to do it, let's put a little arrow sticker on here so we can have a set start point, and we'll use that each time just to help it give us a visual so we can orient the ruler. So it doesn't matter what color, any old color will do. Love these little guys. Ha, they're so easy. So we'll just pick a spot. I'm just going to lay it on there. And this arc is the same all the way around, but this just helps us get a little visual for where we're going to set the foot in place. Sometimes I just feel like I really need that. So here, let's just go ahead and we're going to create a little wedge right there. And then we're going to echo each of the wedges to create some differentiation. Okay. One of the things that I think is a little bit easier with this particular type of an arc is just double this up and come back. It does create a really strong boundary because you're going to get a double stitched line each time. So you can see this is very heavy. Can you see it a little better? Let's get you down. Ooh, we've got to adjust our camera. Okay, there we go. And let's check on one thing. So we want to be able to follow what's going on and make sure we can answer any questions. So I'm going to try to see what we're doing here. There we go. Okay, now I can follow along with you guys and answer questions. Okay, so here we're going to keep this right at the same space, and I'm just going to bump this over. When I look down at the bottom, let's see if we can see what you see at the bottom. Can you see right here as we allow this to come down? Right on the bottom, we need some space. So we're looking at where this is touching right here. Right now I have essentially 2 spaces. I think that might be a little bit big. We really only want about 1/2 of an inch out here at this widest part. So then I'll just adjust that a little bit. Touch, and we'll come back. When I'm working with the quilt, if you'll notice with my hands, as I was coming all the way out here, I was really stretched out. My arm was elongated, so I had to bring it in closer to my body. Always try to work with the quilt where you're not really stretched out like Superman. You want to be able to control that motion, so you can't be really elongated out here. You can't have your arms really far away from your body. Okay, so let's create another wedge. And what we can do here is we can pick a certain number of spaces. So we'll put a little arrow there. What that will do for us is as we move to the next element, it's going to create a certain width so that we can have the same width for our design each time. Let me put that sticker on so I don't forget which line I'm on. So we'll have 2. We'll have 2 little green stickers on here. So right there, this is where I'm touching with the arc, and this is a certain number of spaces between the edge, right? So we'll just use that to create our space. And I do think it's easier to create these all at the beginning and then just put the fill in. Usually when I'm working on a quilt, I do a lot of space definition first. I want to know what is the ditch or the outline of some larger entity, and then I'll work on the fills afterwards. So here we'll tip to give that same essentially 1/2 inch spacing right there, and then we'll come out again. And we need 4 spaces essentially because that's the number of designs that we have. I can put in any number of designs that I wanted. I can just keep going around here and filling this as I wanted to, but we don't want to just have it all be the same. We want different spaces. So I'm going to turn this a little bit and try to put this right on that green arrow to create that same next level of space. So trying to get the whole quilt to move with me. And if I need to adjust my hand position, then I'll do that. So right here, touch, just come back. I'm pulling the whole quilt towards me with both of my hands. I'm coming this way, I'm pulling it back. Let's see if we can get a little more wide angle view on this, because we seem like we're really in tight. Give me just a second to adjust the camera. It's kind of being ornery. It doesn't want to do what I want to do. Sometimes it's just in that mood. It doesn't want to share what I'm doing very well. So we'll kind of tip that a little better. There's so many different joints on the camera to adjust to make it behave. So sometimes it's really hard to get all of those joints to connect. You have to loosen up one at a time. Okay, I think that's maybe a little bit better. So here again, I want to pull all of this right down towards me. Okay, that's what we're trying to do to get us back to that center position. So what's happening right on this back circle right here is we're creeping up a little bit. So when I come back this time, I'm actually going to come to the circle just a little bit and just move up a few stitches. We still want to be echoing from this pivot, but I don't want there to be this tiny little gap in there. So we got to make sure that we're kind of connecting to the circle and cutting away a little bit as this fans out. Okay, same spacing out here on the edge. Notice that my hand is pretty wide on that ruler. This one doesn't have the grip tape on it, which is, I think, a mistake. I just realized as I'm sewing that it's kind of slipping around a little bit. So definitely put that grip tape, put your stable tape on there. I think that just helps everybody move together. It really does help the fabric and the ruler move together. And if you'll notice right here, I've got this finger here holding everybody in place. He's kind of the bump stop there. All right, so we've got, oh, wow, it's going to take up a lot more room than I thought. You know, I drew it out there, but it's quite a bit wider than I thought. Let's go ahead and put some fills in. We'll do that, and then if we have time, we'll add a few more. Okay, so right now we're back to the circle, so we'll just kind of come back right along there, just sneak down to the bottom. And let's put that feather in here. I think that this has good symmetry. I can feather pretty much anything, but I really love this shape to put a feather in. So we have to decide which way the feather is going to orient. So let me get my little scrappy paper right here. So we'll work on that. And we'll just create that wedge right in here so you could see it a little bit. Let's see if we can adjust that camera one more time. There you go. All right. And we have a pen right here somewhere, a pencil. Here we go. So we'll use that same arc and we'll just kind of put that wedge in there just so you can get the idea. Okay. We can make our feather orient where it's this way and this is the spine, or we can make it so that the other way is the spine. Do you guys have a preference? Do you want it to go in towards the circle or out towards the outer edge? Why don't you guys let me know, and then I can just follow what you guys would prefer. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Susan. So glad to have you guys here. So nobody has a preference? Okay, well, we'll just do it this way then. So when we start, I like to go ahead and put a little curl in right at the beginning. I like this because what happens is I can make this shape pretty easily. And the curl, he gets me set. He gives me this correct positioning so that I can start moving up the feather. So sometimes, you know, if you just, when we do the feather, I'm like, okay, wait, where do I need to go? But I think a curl is a really nice little closure, and then it doesn't have anything weird out here as it touches because it comes in on itself. So you don't have to worry about, is he flat when he touches? Is he not curvy enough? The curl itself is a great starter for any feather. So then also when I come back around on my feather right there, I'm going to use this top space of the feather to start working and coming back. And usually I like to do maybe 2 feathers and then a curl, something like that. I don't like to keep them all the same. So what we'll do is we'll do something like that. Notice the space gets a lot bigger and we do want to travel up. So as we come up, if we do this one, when we come back, we've got to stretch, but we cannot come down to the same spot. You have to make sure that you're moving up the spine. If we try to stretch this all the way back down every time, we're really making it hard as we stack them up. So you got to just come into the spine pretty. You're looking to create this V right here. Okay, so each time when we get up to the next one, we're looking for that V right there. So there's the V that we're trying to create each time. And I think that makes the feather really pretty if we can work on creating that nice return to the spine. So let's do that one first. All right, I warmed up, I practiced before we started. So I think that it'll be nice for us to kind of go this way because these arcs kind of all go this way. So we'll make it go that way. Let's grab it. Let's hold on to it. Make sure it'll behave. Here we go. So get a little bit of space and curve and back to the top and come in to the next one. Oh, he's kind of flat, huh? We need to make a little bit better angle on this one. So make him a little taller and kind of smooth him out. And if we have trouble, like if this space is not working for us, let me show you another idea that we can do. Sometimes if the space gets really long, it's hard to stretch the feather. So let's just break it up a little bit. If he's too long and you're having trouble, then we're just going to kind of come up a little bit and we'll fill it in this way. And here we'll just do one last little curl. And then we'll just come up right there. Now, when we're coming down, we can travel right up here and we can go back to the center. So these become that travel line for us right there. So let's creep up. And visually, I think I need to start at the bottom. So I struggle, I think, visually when I'm putting in this fill right here. Ooh, our camera is out of order. Did you guys see anything? Oh, no. Did you guys see my feather or you did not? Doggone it, I'm so annoyed at myself. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and we're going to orient for this space. So this is where we're going to put in the ribbon. And I always feel like when I'm starting the ribbon, I kind of have a little trouble. So what we're doing is we're putting in that S, right? And visually, we need a little bit of a vague transition line. Okay, so here, and then we're going to do a backwards S like that. So right in the middle is where we're kind of trying to switch it over. Okay, so that'll help give you that visual. If you have something kind of in the middle like that, he's going to help us correct ourselves. So I think I want to start maybe down on the bottom. I think that's just going to be visually a little easier. So let's come out a little bit. You tell I'm having a good day here. I did it backwards. Let's go ahead and cut this. It's just going crazy. All right, here we go. Let's draw out to get us started. Okay, we need this space. There we go. See what I mean? I get stuck. That's why I like to draw everything in, because I feel like I need that. So these are kind of big because we have a lot of space, and they're going to start getting a little bit smaller. So a little roundy right there, and then a little transition. And sometimes, you know, you got to make these bottoms and tops match up. They can't be too big. They're a little bit of an offset almost. So here we go. They're going to get smaller. And then keep your little mid right there. So I do have some mess up right here. So I'm going to just start right here, and I'm just going to start from this point. And that visual will help us get going. I didn't want to just keep doing it poorly. Sometimes if you feel like it's going awry, it's okay, just stop. So I'll tack it in. Nice and easy, just relax. There we go. We got it now. Can you tell my heart's beating really fast? Ha, just kidding. So they're getting tighter, so we're going to have to kind of work them a little bit more. So I'm going to change my hand position right now because as I'm going, I'm pretty far away from where we started. And let's kind of get them reoriented too. They're kind of sloping over a little bit, so we're going to try to get them a little bit straight again so we don't just make them all crazy. And then as we get down to the bottom, I'm just going to kind of put a little indistinguishable wiggle as we get back to the center. I'll flip it over so we can see it a little better on the other side. You'll see there's wonk on this one, but I think the other ones look fine. So let's put in another one. We did the feathers, we did the ribbon candy, and then we were going to do kind of the shallow S. I think that one will be better in the biggest space. So let's put the circles in this one. And what I want to do is I want to come out enough that I can put circles in circles like this. So one side, and then we'll do another circle. And this will have the circle on the bottom. And then we want to kind of try to come back a little bit, so we'll have to work our magic this way. One on the bottom. And right here is the transition. So 1, 2, and then from there you go to the middle. And a circle and a circle to the middle. So this is that figure 8 style. Now, as we move out here towards the edge, these might be getting quite a bit bigger. So what you can do is, at that point, we can say, okay, let's put 2 in there. And then we can go this way. So if we want to put more than 1, because we feel like it needs that in terms of the space, we can do that. And that means that I end up having to go around a little bit more. And if you have trouble making them round, which I think we all do sometimes, go ahead and make them a little like an olive. They don't have to be super round. If you want to make them a little more like a oval, then that frees you up not to have them be so particular. So when we come up, we don't need to start right at the very nothing area. You can come out until you can actually make a circle, and it's okay to do that. There's no rules about that. So I think I'll come out to this one, because otherwise that other one's going to be a little too tight. So if you remember, when we did circles before, we talked about going maybe just a little bit faster. And when you're on the circle itself, that's not the place to stop. If I want to stop, I need to stop right in that transition to the middle one. And that way, you're not making anything out of round, because we haven't even really started the circle. We're just on the tangent point. So now we can start with this one. So when I started back there, my little loops are opposite. So I have to be careful because I now have a wrong visual, but that's okay. That'll just let you see that, I'm paying attention. So a little bit of a circle, and then put your little oval in there. I think these kind of shapes are really good practice for making sure that you can make a circle. So I went a little too far. I didn't do my little oval. So we'll do it down here. All right, we had a little broadcast interruption. It's having some little issues right there. Hopefully that'll be the last issue. So I went ahead and I just paused so that we can wait it out. I think sometimes when that happens, if you talk, then you miss anything. So I was just trying to wait it out. Thanks for your patience. I'm here now. Okay, so we're right here on the bottom, and we've got our little loop that we've completed. All right, and I'm just going to come up this way so we can keep going to the next one. So I'll put a little one in there. So just going slowly, trying to track right on the existing stitch lines. All right, let's see how we did. We had our little snafu there with our loss of connection, but you can see we made these ones a little bigger. I think he's a little wonky. I kind of lost my rhythm when I was pausing. But that's okay, we can always fix that. You know, that's just a few stitches. That's pretty easy to make the correction. Let's go ahead and we'll move out to this one. We'll add that next row. That'll bring us back into the center so that we can fill that last space, okay? All right, let's see where our ruler is. All right, let me get him oriented so you can see what I'm doing too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot up here since we're already here. Because this is a 10-inch arc, I can actually use the edge of this and get right into the line of the 10-inch circle. And then I can use this and I can travel nicely because I have to go a good ways here, more than just 1 or 2 stitches. So remember that when we aligned it, we wanted to be able to have this green arrow fit us to give us that next space. And I think we're just about there. So let me show you. I'll align it a little differently so you could see it. We need to come back right into the center at a 1/4 inch. And it's not quite the correct spacing. I think we need about 3 more stitches. Okay, there we go. And then that'll let us get right back in. So here we go. So I've got to make sure the quilt's up in my lap so that he won't pull and give us a problem. So just want to push him that way. Make sure I can get back to my center position. And we're going all the way to the circle this time, just like we did before. And then let's see what we have. See if we got a nice space for us to fill at this point. Okay, good. So we only have 1 more that we're going to use in this space. And this is the one we talked about with the triangles. So let me mark it off. I'll show you what the concept is. And we'll put the echo in on the way back, right? So this is the fill space right here. Leave this empty. And what I'm going to do is just create some vague triangles. And they kind of have to stretch because of the curve. So they're not going to be perfectly symmetrical like that. And this way I can play with what they look like as we go instead of having to stitch them in first. This way I can see, do I like the shape that I'm creating? I can just put this in and I'll use that straight line ruler in order to do it. So right down here on the end, I may want to just connect it right to the end like that, just to make it close easily right here down on the bottom. Rather than trying to fit the triangle, I'm just going to stretch it. So let's go ahead, we'll stitch that in with our straight edge. And then I'll show you how we're going to put the fill in. We'll kind of fill it on the way back. So this first one is super tiny. He's going to be hard to fill because he's so small, but it'll all work out. And these aren't any specific, perfect anything. They're just lines that are kind of segmenting this space. And what that's going to be for is that gives us some really nice, fun space, some defined entity in order to put that fill in. And it's going to look awesome. Make sure I'm touching the circle. I'm just aligning here at 1/4 inch. And this one I want to get right back to that bottom corner. So that'll leave a defined triangle on the end as well. All right, let's start doing that fill on the way back. So let me show you on paper real quick what we're doing. So we've got this wedge right here, and we've got some little triangles. So I'll just make a couple like that. What we're doing is that shallow S, right? Let's see if we can pull it up a little bit. So it's the S and then bump into the top and then same thing. So this one will have to be a little bigger. And then along the top or the bottom, then you would just fill it in. So if this is a bump, then that's skinny. If this is the bump, then we have skinny and then bump. So yeah, let's see if the camera can be adjusted. Maybe I'll take the paper out so we can just work with it more easily. All right, let's see if we can do it better this way. Thank you, Mary. Okay, so we've got the arc, right? And we've got the arc underneath it. And we've got our little triangles. And what we're going to do is that same thing that we did before. We're going to use that shallow S where we did it like that. So if this is the shallow, then this one is wide up to the top, like this. And then we would fill both sides. We're going to fill the bottom and the top, and we'll fill, so right here, this one would be shallow right here coming up and then like this. And we want to fill each. So if this was like this, and then this would be the opposite. So right here, shallow and then bump. And that's a fill, so shallow and then bump. And we'll do those all the way across. I know it looks kind of messy there on the paper. Hopefully we can do it better on the quilt. Let's do the first one just to kind of get us the orientation. We'll work on this inside and then we'll come across the bottom right here, this side. So we'll be filling this and returning this way, and then we'll do this side on the triangle and we'll fill on the bottom. Okay, so here, shallow and then curve, and then shallow and then curve. And so we're just kind of creating that little lift, just half of a arc and then grading into the point. Okay, and then this one's shallow and grading out to the hump over there. And then we want these to match. So if this is shallow and then hump, same thing. A little shallow and going into a curve and shallow and up to the curve. Okay, so we're going to keep it the same. Shallow and then a little hump. Shallow and then a little hump. So they're getting kind of small as we get in, so it gets a little bit harder to come out a little bit. It's just a few stitches as we go, and I think we're on the last one. I can't see that little guy. Let's see. I think we have to put my straight line in there. So we'll just come back and then we'll put that little hump in there. Okay, so we're all the way at the top. We're going to come back and let's go to this first one right here. So shallow and then hump right there. Shallow. And we'll come all the way over. So he's going to come right in the middle. And then right here, we'll go shallow. And then put the little arc in there. And get up to the top. So let's do the bottom. And we want to be opposite. So if this is shallow, we want the bump on this side and shallow that way. And if this is shallow, we want bump and shallow like that. So if this is shallow, we'll do the bump on this side. I think it's going to be a little easier on this part. So he's shallow here, so bump and shallow like that. See, I can't remember where we are. So we're on this side. Go this way. So bump. And I think that's where we'll stop. So let's come back on the bottom and we'll put just that little arc right in the middle of those two. So right here, we'll just put a little gentle arc right in there to connect them up. And right here, this one's quite a bit bigger, so we'll fill that in, and then we'll get shallow. And right here, fill this one in, and get shallow. All right, let's see what we got. I'm gonna actually scoot over to here so we can do our little arc back into the center. I'm going to turn it over. I think it looks messy on the front, and we'll see how it looks on the back. So get my quilt up there. He's kind of dragging down a little bit. Let's tie it off. We got a lot of extra stitching right there, so nobody will notice. All right, scissors, where are you? I wonder if this would look better without the triangles and just the curves. I think it's a little bit busy. Doesn't show the design as well. I love this. I think this looks good. I will probably come in and fix this little wonky guy. Kind of lost my rhythm. I do feel like it's much easier to make the shapes when you are continuing. When you stop, you kind of end up losing that same shape value, like the kinesthetic feel of it. And it's sometimes hard for me to get it back on the first one. So I feel like I want to go around this one a few more times, get it back. But love it. That's the back of it right there. So what we've done now is we have a little bit less space that we have to worry about. So we can put some other fill in here, or we can even just continue this wave and just put some more fills in here to fill in this space. And I think either of those are great ideas. I think they would look good. So thank you guys so much for being here today. We're going to continue this and finish it out. I think we have about 2 more sessions. I have gone ahead and filled in some of my additional squares that were left open. And I'm going to just fill in areas that would be designs that we've already covered to finish it up. and hopefully we'll be done pretty soon. I have a little bit of ADHD. I get bored easily, so I want to finish it up too because I want to see what it looks like when it's all done. Thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.